Welcome to the Naughty Child Podcast with me, Richard.
And me, Polly.
I'm the dad.
And I'm the daughter.
So we just had the WPL final poll.
Yeah, we said we were going to go on a break, but when a WPL final happens and it's the first one, you kind of have to talk about it. So we've decided to make a brief comeback and chat about, I think, the WPL as a whole, because obviously it's been the first edition of the tournament and hopefully there'll be many editions to come, but kind of look back, say what we liked about it, what could be improved for next year, and talk about the final. So shall we start with the final, which has just happened?
Yes. So Delhi Capitals against Mumbai Indians. And the final was a close game, which is really good. It didn't look like it was going to be that way to start with. So Delhi Capitals batted first and were immediately reduced, lost 3 quick wickets to 3. Now, I haven't seen it, but apparently appalling full toss.
A lot of people are saying they should have been a no-ball from Issy Wong.
But Issy Wong has just got this presence about her. And on the big occasions, she steps up. So we saw her down in Northampton in the semi-final of the Charlotte Edwards Cup. Yes. And she kind of turned that game around with a spell of bowling in that game. And but quite often she's quite anonymous. She's had patches where she's not been that impressive. She lost her place in the England T20 team for the recent World Cup. But put her on the big stage and she will shine. And that's something that she's done throughout this tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in the Eliminator, we haven't actually had a chance to talk about this, but she got 4 for 15, including a hat-trick, the first hat-trick and only hat-trick of the inaugural WPL. Which was just incredible. And as you say, she steps up to the big occasion. She's a big game player. And I tweeted this because I was at a football game and I've seen no footage. But obviously everyone was like, oh, it was a no-ball. But I was like, at the end of the day, it goes down on the scorecard as a wicket. A wicket's a wicket. You can't do anything. That batter's not going to come back. So although she might have, the execution might not have been good, it was still a wicket, and
the end result
games
that matters, isn't
it?
So of course, she's from our home city of Birmingham as well. So we're big fans of Issy Wong, and it's great to see her really shining on the big stage. Yeah.
In terms of batting, Shikha Pandey was excellent for Delhi Capitals.
I've been so pleased with Shikha Pandey's impact, both winning her place back in the India side for the World Cup, and now her performances throughout this tournament. I think she's been a leading seam bowler throughout the WPL. And today it was her batting, 27 from 17, which really rescued the innings.
Yeah, because there was a patch. I mean, it was mainly down to Hayley Matthews, who finished with figures of 3 for 5, which is just outstanding, including 2 maidens, which is so rare in T20 cricket. And especially given the fact that we know the boundaries are quite small. So that adds even more to it. But no, I thought Shikha Pandey did really well to kind of rescue the innings, so to speak.
And those of you who haven't heard our episode with Shikha Pandey from over a year ago.
Yeah, it was around October 2021, I think.
Yeah, give that a listen because she's just brilliant. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's fantastic. And so it's so nice to see her doing so well. But anyway, Mumbai, it seemed, had a bigger task than we originally thought, because it could have been a very low total that Delhi set, but they needed 132 to win. And Nat Sciver-Brunt was just, she knows how to win games. I mean, you made a point earlier of she's not the best bowler in the tournament and she's not the best batter, but she gets there somehow and she does the job.
She is somehow one of the most valuable players.
Yeah.
And again, her strike rate for most of her innings was really poor.
I mean, I'm pretty sure at one point she was like 8 from 19 or something. Yeah. It was very low.
It was like she was playing a 5-day test match.
Yeah.
But she just, it's that experience, isn't it? To accelerate through an innings. She ended up with 60 not out from 55, strike rate of 109, and guided her side home.
Yeah. I think there was, it was interesting when it got to the last couple of overs, because Jess Johnson bowled the penultimate over, which meant that the only person who had already bowled, who could bowl another over was Alice Capsey. Obviously, Capsey's a good bowler, but to get her to bowl the last over in a final of a massive franchise tournament in a country she's played in, I think, once before, it's quite a big deal.
She's a batter who bowls.
Exactly. She's not a definitive all-rounder.
But I think really what Meg Lanning was having to do was to bowl her best bowlers to try and keep the score down, so that when it came to the last over, there was a possible total that they could defend.
Yeah.
As it was the penultimate over that cost them. So Jess Jonathan bowled, I think, got hit for 17 off the penultimate over, meaning that they only needed 5 from the last over. Had she, maybe gone for 8 or 9, that might have given them a better chance.
Yeah. But what a great final. What a great way to finish. And obviously we haven't been able to watch the games, but from what I've seen on social media, the crowds have been incredible. And it feels like people have really backed women's cricket. I think there were 39,000 there for the eliminator. So many games have been sold out, and that is exactly what you want.
Well, of course, and it all happened in Mumbai, didn't it?
Yeah.
So it reminds me a little bit of the Commonwealth
Games, yeah.
Where, it was like a dream for us here in Birmingham, where we just had the best players in the world playing down the road from us twice a day for a week and a bit, which was just amazing. So the people of Mumbai have had an absolute treat.
Yeah.
And maybe going forward, the tournament will roll out into other cities across India. And I guess it did give Mumbai a bit of a home advantage. My guess is that
most of the fans would have been Mumbai Indians fans.
Yes, and of course they're an established franchise as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
But what a great tournament! What a great boost for the women's game.
Yeah.
And then going forward, you're looking at possibly more teams next time, more venues next time, more opportunity for local Indian players and international stars next time as well.
Yeah. Well, this kind of brings us nicely on to what things would we want to change in the future. And in fact, Meg Lanning spoke about it the other day, wanting to play in different cities. So she said, I've heard really good things about the Delhi crowd, so I want to play in front of those fans. And I think also I think we forget how big India is. Like, it's like it would be a trek for us to go to, I don't know, for example, Durham. It's like, well, imagine going from one end of India to the other. Like, places so much further apart.
Mumbai to Chennai.
Exactly.
It would be like going Birmingham to Moscow, I think.
Yeah. And so obviously, logistically that's a bigger thing, but they do it in the WBBL. And I think it's really important that those fans do get to see their home team. And as you say, Mumbai have had the home advantage. And that's probably not the main reason why they've won, but it certainly plays a part.
Well, England had the home advantage in the Commonwealth Games and it made no difference.
Exactly. To be fair, I think India also had a slight home advantage in the Commonwealth Games.
That's true, yes.
You saw the crowds. So I'm trying to think what else we need to say about the tournament.
Well, we're impressed. And actually, the 100, it felt like when the 100 came about, it raised the bar a little bit.
Yes.
From WBBL, that the crowds were bigger. It really upped the profile of the women's game. It feels now the bar's been raised even further. These are just single standing women's games. They're not double headers, and those crowds, particularly for the later on in the tournament, were really, really significant, weren't they?
Yeah.
And shows there really is an appetite for the women's game in India, and it's a great model I think we can look at in the future.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what happens to the 100 and WBBL in that sense, because we think about in the men's game, the IPL is the big one, and they're not attracting big names to the 100. I mean, mainly overpay, but
so the men aren't attracting the big names.
But then, to be fair, even in the women's game this year, we've seen a couple of players haven't put their names forward into the 100 because they've said, well, that's the only time I'll get off.
Yeah.
Because they'll play WBBL, particularly if they're Australian. That's their home tournament. And then they'll get lots of money in the WPL. So they're going to go to that. And then, of course, there are international commitments. So it will be interesting to see the kind of balancing act that has to go on, and if the 100 and the WBBL can keep attracting those top players.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? So Nat Sciver-Brunt, who's a top paid player, in the WPL, and she's also on the top pay bracket in the 100. She gets paid 10 times the amount to play in the WPL than she does in the 100, and she plays more matches in the 100.
Exactly.
So it's things are very out of proportion, aren't they? And so that's a thing globally on the game for us to really keep an eye on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it feels like that's changed a lot in how the women's game works on a global scale, certainly for the top stars.
Well, another thing I think we should mention is about, going forward, the potential of having more teams. I think that'll be really good. Firstly, obviously, means there are more opportunities for people to play. But again, then it spreads it to more cities. And if you align yourself more with the men's team, the men have now got 10 teams in the IPL. If we could push for 8 in the WPL, that would make a massive difference. And, it means the competition's a little bit longer. I don't want it to be as long as the men's, because that feels like it lasts for about half a year. But I think maybe expanding the competition a bit, making it a bit longer, and as I say, it gives more people opportunities and makes it tougher for teams to win as well.
Yes, I think we need to mention about Charlotte Edwards.
I was about to say, yeah.
So really, really successful as a coach, of course. She always gets to the final.
Exactly. You just can't see her not getting to the final. I think the only time she's done that was, it was the first, not the first Charlotte Edwards Cup. There was one of the Rachel Flint or Charlotte Edwards Cup that I don't think Vipers got to. I think it was Northern Diamond, Southeast Stars. I could be wrong on that, but that's just the top of my head. But she always gets to finals, and it showed. There's a really nice video that was circulated after the eliminator, where she got her team in a circle, and it was her reading kind of the notes she'd written from the game, and went round pretty much all the players saying individual things, like congratulating them. Obviously, Issy Wong was the star of that, but she was like, this player, you took your first wicket in the tournament. That's a massive achievement. And just acknowledged everyone in the team. And I was like, she knows how to manage people.
She's so good.
She's so good. And you think about the wider staff they have at Mumbai Indians. So you've got Lottie, then you've got Lydia Greenway and Julan Goswami. It's like, that is a bit of a golden trio to work with your team.
It's a club of legends.
Exactly. Yeah.
And clearly, they've inspired that group. And you expect those players to come back better players, having experienced that.
100%. So it's been a very exciting tournament, and I'm excited to see what happens next year with it, and whether some of the things we're talking about will be implemented.
Yes. So thanks goes to the BCCI
for finally doing a WPL.
Well,
we've been waiting.
We have moaned about it, but actually they've done it really, really well. And so I think we need to give credit where it's due. So really, really well done to the people over in India.
I'm sure they listen
for sorting that out and putting on such a great tournament. We look forward to lots more.
Yeah, so we'll be back with our normal episodes towards the start of April, where we've got an exciting guest lined up. So you can stay tuned on our social media for that. So our Twitter is OO Child Podcast and our Instagram is Naughty Child Podcast.